Hey, this is Rick Bone with Underwater Explorer. We're going to go back to Key West and do some diving on the world's longest shipwreck that went down. It's about 500 feet long. It's an artificial reef for divers. We're also going to find out a little bit more about how things from the Etosha, gold and silver artifacts, have been preserved. And I'm also going to recommend a book to you. It's called Think and Grow Rich. It can help you get pretty much whatever you want if you know what you want. Let's go diving. Now we're cruising in the greater Fort Lauderdale area, and this is in the Intercoastal Waterway, and it's such a treat just to go down and see these huge, magnificent mansions. It's Doug Sailor's from Knoxville, Tennessee. A buddy of mine's got a yacht in Florida, very convenient. This is on a Sunday afternoon, and boats congregate in the Intercoastal in certain areas. We even had a hot dog vendor come up to us later in the show that was actually on the water. That's Jamie coming through the after deck. There's quite a popular swimming place in the Intercoastal that people go to on Sunday afternoons. Now we've just come back in from a day of cruising the Intercoastal, and it's quite a ritual getting the boat ready and cleaning up afterwards. This is in the Yacht Club in Lighthouse, Florida, which is considered a part of the greater Fort Lauderdale area. Very convenient. And now we pop down to Key West, and this is a contour train. Goes to the old part of Key West, and if you come to Key West, you need to do that. An old salvage vessel. If you drive to Key West, you want to make sure you've got a parking place, hopefully at your hotel. And when the sun goes down, things really happen in Key West. There are vendors all over the sidewalks and a dog and pony show every other area. And this is right before the sun sets. And I happen to be in a great location that overlooks the Florida Bay. Literally thousands of people gather at sundown. That's probably the best celebration of the day, and the sunsets are magnificent. Now we're diving about 6 miles off of Key West. We're in about 25 feet of water. The water temperature is about 90 plus degrees, which is very warm. You do not need a wetsuit in the summer and spring months. And there's a grouper, and the fish are quite plentiful. Also, sea fans are quite plentiful in the Florida Keys. That's a parrotfish. There were about 6 divers on that day, which is a comfortable margin for a small boat. And these fish each had their little cave systems that they can get into if need. These soft corals are quite colorful. And you just dive at a very leisurely pace. The dive guide is just slow enough so that you're not exerted. Very pleasant dive experience. Now we're getting ready to go through a swim through. There's another sea fan and many schools of fish. Many people ask when is the best time to dive Key West. Undoubtedly, you want to dive Key West in the spring and summer months. That's about April through October. After that, you have a real chance of high seas, so it's best to dive during the warm months. Another huge grouper. Now we're in about 20 feet of water. We're a little bit shallower. There's a little reef shark. And if you drive to Key West, from Key Largo, for example, it's about a 3-hour drive. Key West is quite a family event, where several years ago it used to be rock and roll city and that was about it, but it's very much a family experience now. Virtually anything you want to find in the way of entertainment you can find in Key West. That's a hogfish, very good eating. Now we're back in downtown Key West, and I told you it was a dog and pony show there every night. Well, this happens to be a cat show. Now we're diving one of the most famous wrecks in Key West. It's the longest shipwreck at over 500 feet as an artificial reef, and it went down just a few years ago. And it's in about 70 feet of water to about 110 feet of water. And of course, all the oil has been drained, the gas. All the glass has been removed. Very safe dive. But on occasion, before the dive, you want to check for currents because currents can really zip through this area. That's called a moon jellyfish, and they were really plentiful on this dive. That one got caught, and that was the end of him. But these moon jellyfish have a seasonal vibration, and if they hit you, they don't sting you like a jellyfish. It's barely noticeable, just a little sting. They were about a foot in diameter. Hey, this is Rick Bone with Underwater Explorer. I want to recommend a book to you. If there's anything in life that you want that you don't know how to get, be it money, be it relationships, physical fitness, this is a book for you. It's called Think and Grow Rich. And it was written by Napoleon Hill and commissioned by a steel magnate, if you remember him at the early 1900s, named Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was the richest man in the world at the turn of the century. He was worth $365 million. In today's money, that's just tens of billions of dollars. And get this, he went to work every morning at 10 o'clock, he left at 4 o'clock, and he took an hour for lunch, and every summer he took off 3 months and went to Scotland and played golf. Well, people say, well, how do you do this? I mean, you don't work that hard, yet you've got all this wealth. And he said, I do it with my thinking, and I do it by my thoughts. So anyway, he asked Napoleon Hill to write this book. He said, I'm going to introduce you to the 500 most successful people in the country, and I want you to find out what they have in common. I want you to take 20 years to do it, and when you finally know, I want you to write a book. The name of the book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And sure enough, after talking to all these people, he found out that there were 16 things, only 16 things that all these people had in common that they did every day. And most of them did not even know each other. And keep in mind that it's easier to make $1 million than it is $30,000 or $40,000 a year, he said. And why is that? And he said, because not many people think they can make $1 million, but almost everybody in today's market thinks they can make at least 30 or 40,000. So as I say, if there's anything that you have as a goal that you've set but you don't know how to get, you need to get this book. And keep in mind, they do not teach this knowledge in any school, high school, or college, simply for the reason that the elite don't want you to know this knowledge. We're back in Key West getting ready to leave, and this is one of the huge cruise liners that was right at the back of my hotel room. And I guess this ship probably held 3,000 or 4,000 people. And it's amazing to see how he maneuvers to get out of there. Such a huge ship just turned around and left, and that was it. This is downtown Key West. Tons of little shops, restaurants. Sloppy Joe's Bar, one of the most popular bars in the area. Now we're on another deep water wreck. We're in about 80 feet of water off Palm Beach, Florida. And that is a huge 300-pound Goliath grouper. And there are usually 4 or 5 of these massive grouper on this wreck. And you get close enough to them, they'll actually bark. You can hear the vibration in your chest where they're trying to say, okay, that's a little close, back off. And on this particular day, the current was really going, and that's why we all had to hold on to keep from getting run off the wreck. This is in an area that consists of 4 wrecks, about 50 yards apart from each other, and they call this the corridor. And it is a drift dive, and you simply drift one wreck to the other one. These are little bait fish inside the ship. And these ships have been down for years, which is why you see so much sea life. The longer the wreck is down, the more sea life. Matter of fact, the ship has to be down for at least 2 or 3 years to get almost any life. An angelfish. That, as you probably know, is my favorite fish in the sea as far as coloration. Now we're just drifting over a nearby reef. That's a French angelfish as opposed to a queen angelfish. And this is a huge puffer fish. Now we're cruising over this reef. We're in about 60 feet of water. That's a basket sponge. And here's some of the hunters. And they're looking for lobster. And you can see how the current is taking us. It's about maybe 1 knot an hour, like a pleasant walk. That's a macro photographer. He's shooting small stuff. Everybody's got a cubbyhole to go into. This is one of the most congregated fish schools I've run up against. And again, this is off Palm Beach, Florida. Great turtle. You almost always see a turtle off Palm Beach, Florida. They love the currents, and they're very curious, and they'll stay right with you. Blue soft corals. The visibility is improved to about 50 feet. And off Palm Beach, the visibility normally is about 50 or 60 feet. Of course, it can go as low as 10 feet or as much as over 100 feet. You know, if you're looking at this and you're thinking about becoming a certified diver, you need to go ahead and make the move. Seeing it on TV is one thing, but being there under it and seeing all the fish and the various colors, it's mind-boggling. So if you'd like to become a certified diver, call your nearest scuba diving teaching facility. You might want to try Ski and Scuba in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Jimmy can help you get started. Great sport. Turtles are quite plentiful off Palm Beach, and a lot of them have been tagged and released. This guy is killing a lionfish, and these lionfish have just come over, they think from the Bahamas, and they've infected all the waters in the Caribbean and to the Pacific. And they'll eat almost anything from the coral reef to other fish, and they're trying to eradicate them, although they'll never be able to do so. Now we're back on a great Goliath grouper wreck, and this wreck's in about 85 to 90 feet of water, and that guy's about 400 pounds, 6 feet long. And there's a couple. They pretty well scamper off when you get too close. And about 10 minutes after the divers leave, they come back in their specific areas. And it's best if you go inside a wreck to have a light source with you, although you can see pretty much from sunlight. Beautiful coloring. This is inside one of the wrecks, and he doesn't know if he wants to come out and show himself or not. Blue soft corals. Now we've come up to a reef at about 55 feet of water. And we're just cruising along on another drift dive. Palm Beach is famous for drift diving in that it has a current and you simply coast with it. A lot of people initially try to fight the current to stay in one place, but it's really futile to do that, so just go with it. These fish schools are over and inside the reef system. That's a little moray eel. And we're coming up right after our dive. This is in Greater Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Again, the home of Douglas sailors. Doug originated the Baby Be Bright Corporation that you'll be having as a household name in a few years. And this is right on the Intercoastal Waterway system. Good-looking 38-foot boat. It's a little get-together out on his porch. And these are members of the yacht club. And this is Lighthouse Point, Florida. Good job, apparently. Now we're taking out for the Intercoastal. Yes, that is Santa Claus on the top of that house. It's kind of hard to get used to. And you see boats and mansions of all sizes. And on Sundays, you cannot make a wake. You have to go very slow, which is, of course, the most enjoyable speed to enjoy the Intercoastal anyway. If there is so much wealth in this part of the country, great fishing boat. That's a limousine for getting to work and back. And boat maintenance is quite a thing to be kept up with. There are boat taxis in Greater Fort Lauderdale area. If you don't have a boat, you can always hire one for a quick cruise. Now, this is Rick Bone with Underwater Explorer. If you remember last time, we went diving on the wreck of the Etosha, the Mel Fisher discovered wreck. He found it about years ago in 1985. It had been down for almost 400 years. And people say, well, all this gold and silver and that was brought up along with everything associated with it, if it's been down that long, how do you clean it up? How do you conserve it? So let's go back to Key West and go in the Treasure Museum and see exactly how they do that.
So here we are in the Conservation Lab. This is where all the artifacts come. They're conserved and then documented. Let's go meet John and see how that all happens.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Good to see you.
So I hear the guys brought you some fun stuff.
Oh yeah, we got some great stuff in. We just got this piece right here. It's called a left-handed dagger. You can see the image of it perfectly.
That would be the handle?
This is the handle right here. This is the guard. This is the blade. But I mean, I've been out there sometimes with investors and watched them swim right over these kind of artifacts because you don't recognize it. Yeah. So you really need to have a trained eye as a diver to be able to find these pieces on the bottom.
Absolutely. Wow, this is a beautiful piece.
It is a beautiful piece.
So this will be conserved and actually be distributed to an investor at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
In their division.
The next step after I remove it from concretion is it goes into an electrolysis tank. This is where all the metal goes. It's the electricity is leaving the artifact and it's breaking down the water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. At the same time, it's also removing the chlorides.
It's quite a science.
It is quite a science. And it depends on the size of the artifact, depends on how large it is, how long it stays in electrolysis. Now say some of these spikes might only be 2-3 months and all the chlorides are removed. This piece right here, which is a breach chamber from a cannon, this piece has so much salt in it, it'll probably take a year, maybe more than a year. I did a cannon one time, it took me 2 years to get all the salt out.
I remember that.
Yeah. You have a shallow water shipwreck and you have a deep water shipwreck. This is the Santa Margarita, shallow water, maybe 25 feet, real high energy environment, a lot of oxygen in the water, and oxygen is terrible for artifacts. It just eats the artifact apart. And you can see how this whole barrel has been eaten apart.
Yeah.
See what bad condition it's in?
Yeah.
This is the Etosha, it was in 55 feet of water.
Oh, I can see, yeah, not as much.
It's in much better condition. It was in the mud and under the sand, so it's protected. It's in an anaerobic environment.
Right.
Not only did this barrel come out great, this one still has a beautiful hardwood stock, and it still had the trigger mechanism intact. The entire trigger mechanism, the trigger, It still has a steel spring that would make the matchlock go forward.
Okay.
So it was a great find. Okay, Sean, now this is the stuff that everybody gets excited about. This is treasure.
Yes, it is.
This is a silver coin clump. It was just found recently. This is how they look when they first come up from the sea. They're covered with a silver sulfite, and they almost look like black Oreos.
Yeah, they sure do.
Sometimes we've had people swim right over them, not even recognize it, because it looks, I mean, a piece of rust, or you wouldn't even know what it is. Now, this is a noble metal, so unlike iron, it only takes maybe 3 to 5 days for electrolysis.
So sometimes the more valuable metals take less time.
Yes, just like gold. I mean, hours. So yeah, the more noble the metal, the less conservation time.
So this is a coin, pre-conservation.
Pre-conservation.
This is what it looks like when you find it.
Right.
And is this, am I true to believe that this is a conserved coin?
That's a conserved coin. That's what it will look like when it's finished. You can see all the markings, the assessor, the mint, the shield, the cross, the lion and castle, Castile and Leon. I mean, it has a whole history. Books have been written about all the different markings on these coins.
So this is a pre-conservation coin. This is what it looks like when you find it. When you go out to the wreck site and you dive and you find your first piece, this is what you're looking for. And then after conservation, this is what it'll look like.
Okay, Sean, now we saved the best for last.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as you heard, we found some really incredible pieces.
Yes.
You're not going to believe what you're going to see here.
Yeah?
Absolutely beautiful artifact.
This was just found 3 weeks ago, and from what I understand, it's completely conserved.
It's completely conserved. Its gold is a very noble metal. Unlike iron or silver, which can take weeks, this took 2 hours and came out like this. Just like the day it was made.
Look at that.
It's a little bent. We're going to have a professional goldsmith straighten it out, but I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. All the ornamental work here, the scroll.
Unbelievable.
Incredible craftsmanship.
So that's solid gold.
Solid gold, probably about a pound of gold, but the real value, obviously, is the historic value,
It's amazing.
not the weight of the gold. Inside, there is a shield, a crest, coat of arms. You can see it actually has a knight's head, like a knight in shining armor.
Beautiful. Yeah, you can see these feathers coming off the helmet of the knight's helmet.
Like it was just made. It's just absolutely perfect. Another interesting thing about this chalice is the base, which actually unscrews like it was just made yesterday. No corrosion at all because it's gold. It just unscrews like they just made it. On the base, it actually has a stamp right here. It's a tax stamp.
Wow, you can see a little lion in a castle.
Lion, Castile and Leon. Tax stamp there, also a tax stamp right here on the edge,
No kidding.
which increases the value dramatically. And any kind of markings with tax stamps, the value goes way up,
From what I understand, this was found furthest north we've ever found gold on the Margarita Trail.
which is a very good sign for us because they're going to keep pounding that area and we've got to